Hello, Humane marketers. Sarah Znekrocha here. Welcome to another episode of the Humane Marketing Podcast, a place to be for the generation of marketers who cares. This is the show where we talk about marketing your business in a way that feels good to you, is aligned with your values, and also resonates more with your conscious customers because it's not pushy, ethical, and also beautiful. So if you're a regular here, you know that I'm organizing the conversations around the 7 Ps of humane marketing. And if you're new here and this is your first time, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. You may want to download your one-page marketing plan with the 7 Ps of humane marketing in the form of a mandala at humane.marketing/one page, the number one and page. So again, humane.marketing/one page. And with that, with no further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. Hi, Sophie. It's good to have you back on the Humane Marketing Podcast.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, I was just looking at the last episode. It was, if people have missed it, it's episode 172. That time we talked about kind of this community project that you started, and that's how we connected. So it was more under the P of passion of the 7 Ps of humane marketing. And this time I wanted to have you back for the promotion P. And I just kind of said in the intro, okay, promotion, to me, that feels almost like an old paradigm word. It's kind of like, advertising almost like that's not what we're doing on LinkedIn. We're not promoting as per se. So yeah, let's just dive right in. What are we doing on LinkedIn that somehow leads to clients, but without the spam?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's true. There's so many connotations with that word promotion. So in my mind, the people I like to work with are mission driven, and I know those are the same people that you like working with as well. And when you're mission driven, you really have a message to share. You want to help your potential clients, but you also have, things that you want to share with the population at large, things that are important to you, even outside of your work, but specifically about your work. You have messages, you want to raise awareness, for example. And the other thing is, in order to help your clients, you need to really be able to bring them to you to understand that they even have a problem, right? So many people are walking around with problems that they have not necessarily identified, or maybe they haven't realized that they can actually have a solution to them. And so I think we need to speak to that as well. So it's something that I've been talking about a lot, is the customer journey, because I feel that we tend to talk to people who, like, we don't necessarily define them that way, but we end up talking to people who are ready to buy, and we talk as if they were choosing between vendors, right? Sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think we want to do with our content is really to help transform people, to help people get to that point where they understand their problem, where they understand they can get help. And that's something that I think is very much forgotten or neglected. And those are the
I
things.
love that. Yeah. Yeah. And I was just like, I had to jump in because it's so the opposite of the spammy messages that we get, where they just assume that we want to buy whatever they're selling us, right? So there's no client journey at all. It's like, no, you need this new product that, whatever it does. And I'm
Yeah.
like, have you looked at my profile? No, I don't
Mhm.
need that, right? And so, yeah, that idea of taking people on a journey that really resonates. So yeah, I interrupted you, so tell us
No,
more.
no, it's exactly, it's the whole shift between self-centered, all these spammers are like me, my product, and me and what I can do. And it's really shifting to the other, looking at others and how you can help them. That's really at the center of everything. Once you start doing that, you know, the rest follows. You want to help people, and once you look at the people around you and understand how they operate in terms of what you offer and how you can help them, and yeah, then you think about them, and you sit down at your computer to write a post or something, and you're like, what can I say that is going to help a person get closer to their solution? If their solution includes you, all the better. But if it doesn't, you still have reached your mission. You still have accomplished your mission with regard to that one person.
Yeah, so many things. Like the one thing that comes to mind is this idea that I talk about, which is the worldview. So that's what you're saying. It's like you bring that in because then there's no more provider kind of comparison. It's more like, okay, you've achieved your mission because the people are like resonating with what you're sharing. And you just happen to also have a solution to their problem. But that requires that you also talk about this solution, right? So there's this thing in our brain that's called the reticular activating system. And so people kind of sometimes shy away, at least our heart-centered people, they shy away from kind of, talking about the problem, or in, typical marketing lingo, it would be the pain points. So we don't want to talk about the pain points, but we still somehow need to address the problem that they're facing. Otherwise, we're losing them. They're not even paying attention to us. Now, you also mentioned that sometimes people don't even know they have a problem or what kind of problem they have. So it sounds like we need to start even earlier in that journey. So tell us how we would, figure out what their or help them figure out what their problem is.
Yeah, so it's yeah, you're right. That whole thing about the pain point, you do need to talk about the pain, but not like what is traditionally done is, agitate the pain, like put salt in the wound, all these terribly belligerent terms,
Yeah.
right? So it's not about that. It's if somebody has pain, yes, you need to have them recognize it, but you need to help them understand where that pain is coming from, what is causing it, the fact that it is fixable. So those are all positive things that come out of talking about pain, right? So
Mm.
the way to help with that is really to get to understand your customers really, really, really well. And of course, when we work with our clients, we get to understand a lot about who they are. Um, but in a sense, that's their self when they're ready to buy that we know, right? So
Mhm.
even if we talk, so start with getting to know your customers really, really well. However, that's not enough. You need to go to before they were ready.
Right.
And some of the ways to do that is to talk, with in networking events, do networking, talk to people who are not buying from you. Talk to people who could benefit from working with you, but don't seem to be interested in signing up with you, and have conversations, not like, why aren't you buying, but just chatting generally and having them understand. For example, when I do networking, I often meet people who will say, oh, I really hate LinkedIn. I do everything on Instagram, for example. So
Right.
then this is my chance to ask them, well, what is it you like about Instagram? What is it you don't like about LinkedIn? And by doing that, I get to understand the misconceptions they have about LinkedIn, the things they don't like, the things that I know I could simply tell them by a sentence, well, actually, you don't need to do that, or whatever, I can fix it. But the point is really doing the market research and asking questions and getting to know them. And then the next thing you can do is write a post about it. And then you're talking to all those other people who hate LinkedIn for that particular reason, right? And etc.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I was just preparing. We have our next Humane Marketing Circle community call that you're also a member of. And I was preparing the call and I was thinking that we could talk about limiting beliefs that our clients have. And so it's kind of that same idea. It's like, what are they telling themselves? Like, nobody gets clients on LinkedIn, or LinkedIn is just a bunch of spamming, right? So that's kind of these limiting beliefs or past experiences. And that's exactly what we need to find out about our clients
Yeah.
so that we can then take them on this journey, right?
Yeah, that's actually the second step. So in the workshop, I'm going to explain, the customer journey. A lot of us have heard of it, but I've actually adapted it and simplified it and made it sort of actionable for people like us to do in our marketing. So what we talked about before is the first step. And what you're talking about now is the second step. I'll explain that more in the workshop. But
Awesome.
those are, the different stages. First, you got to know you have a problem, and then what is it you believe about that problem? And our job is at every stage to change the belief for them to get to the next point. And that's one
Mm,
of the other keys, is not all your messages are about people buying from you. That's like jumping the queue.
right,
So you need content for each and every step of the way.
right. Yeah, I love that. So if we think about this, this applies to any kind of platform, I would assume,
Yes.
right? And that's so often the part that people like, the deeper the foundation that people skip, and they just go to content creation. It's like, oh, the marketing people keep telling us we have to create content, and so they create all kinds of content that takes them hours and hours, but there's no foundation or strategy behind it. So what you're saying is that's why a lot of people don't find success, because there's no strategy, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, strategy is one of the big pieces. And then the even bigger, I would say, is engagement. I mean, they're like both pillars, but a lot of people also have the problem that they post and they post and they post and they get no results. I'm like, yeah, are you engaging? Are you, going back and answering comments and eliciting comments and leaving comments on other people's stuff, and all this activity that you need to do to get engagement? We put these terms on things, but basically you go to a networking event and you can't just go there, drink wine or whatever it is, and eat and leave and say networking doesn't work. You have to engage, right? It's the same thing. And sometimes we put these marketing terms on things, and we forget the basic realities of it's people. You need to have conversations with people.
Right, right. Yeah. Um, so, okay, we know that we need to think about our strategy, our customer journey. Then we need to post. Besides posting and the engagement, is there a next step? Like, what would be our next step?
After all of that, so the engagement starts inside of your post, right? Or the comment thread. Um, then it goes to the profile and potentially creating an actual connection, an invitation to connect. Or it can, yeah, and then it can go into the DMs, right? So I know
Mhm.
DM is a word that makes us all shiver because that's where all the crap happens. But you can, like, spam, but you can use the just direct messages to just take a conversation that started in the comments and just go a little bit deeper. We're not talking super depth, but a little bit deeper and privately in the direct messages. And usually after one or two of those, you can suggest getting on a call. And that's where all the magic happens. That's where you build that relationship, and then you follow up, and that's how you get clients and build
Right. So yeah, it's funny because as you know, I've been a LinkedIn consultant myself, and even back then I was telling people the clients, they don't happen. That thing doesn't happen magically on LinkedIn. It happens outside of LinkedIn, and I'm glad to hear that that's what you're also saying, that it's a way to meet people and to, yes, kind of show them what you're all about, and then bringing them on that journey. But the actual conversation happens outside of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I guess a lot of the LinkedIn people out there, it's you still see a lot of shoulds. We should be doing this, we should be doing that. This is how a post should look like in order to get more reach. So how important is all of this reach and all of these likes? You did say engagement was important. So what if I don't get engagement? Like, how much do I need to pay attention to this, and how? Because I think that's also where people get ashamed if their posts are not getting, this level of likes or engagement. Are they doing something wrong? How
Right.
could they do it differently?
Yeah. Well, for sure, you do need to get some views. And like everything else, you need to put some of yourself in there before you get anything back. So if you start engaging on other people's content, they will notice you and they will start looking at your content. It is as simple as that. So I would make it a habit of going in every day, spend, 10, 15 minutes and just comment on people's content. You could start by doing it randomly on whatever you think is interesting, catches your interest, and just to get started. And then you can start to notice some people whose content you really enjoy and whose content is maybe relevant to your topic and relevant to your audience. And then you can comment and you can also share their content. You can just repost without putting a comment, but for the most part, I would recommend you put a comment. When I say comment, it's not a comment. You repost with sharing your thoughts. So you're actually creating a post that is someone else's post and you say why it's relevant, right?
Right.
So if you're early in the stages of learning LinkedIn and you don't have a lot to post and to say, it's great to do that because you can tag the person who's post your reposting. You can tag someone else who you think might be interested, right? So you're going out there and creating these connections, and then the engagement will come to you.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street, and you have to engage in that sense.
I would say it starts even earlier, because what we were just discussing in the Marketing Like We're Human program, they were telling me, yeah, but I have people on there, their content is not interesting to me. So what's the point of me going to comment on these people's content? And so I would say, and you probably will share that in the workshop as well, well, it starts before you actually have to have the right people on there. And so, well, maybe it's kind of the same process. You start commenting and then you see who else is commenting on their comments. And so you kind of create your ecosystem, especially because the kind of mission-driven entrepreneurs that we want to work with, we're currently kind of going through this purging in business where, for myself, for sure, I had to get away from all the 6-figure, 7-figure business kind of world and people kind of in that world. And so slowly I had to add new people and, find these heart-centered, more sustainability oriented people. And that's the work as well. It's like, well, yeah, if you're still, let's say you just came out of corporate, you're still going to have all your corporate colleagues in there. There's no point in creating this huge
Yeah.
content machine because you're just going to be
Oh,
talking to yourself, basically. So all of
yeah.
it is part of the strategy as well.
Yeah. And I'm going to share a very simple tip to overcome that challenge is you can just go to the search bar, put in a word that is relevant to you, to your content, your topic, your audience's problems, etc. And then when the bar comes and you have all these different options, people, companies, groups, click on posts. And you will simply get a whole slew of posts that have that word. And you do that a bunch of times. And then you will find content that's more interesting. And then you can start that whole process of commenting and sharing, and those people will connect with you. And that's how you can regenerate, so to speak, a newer circle of connections.
Yeah, so good. It's those small tips that make all the difference, right? Because it really is, useless to create all this content if then the wrong kind of people see it. So I think that's where a lot of people go wrong as well. So I think it's super helpful. Tell us a bit more about the workshop. So you're coming into this community and sharing all of this in the circle on June 5th. So tell us a bit more about what you're going to share there.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a system that I found just simpler than it seems, but it really has a lot of foundational work under it. And most of it has to do with this customer journey that we talked about. Um, and the way this system helps with two main problems that I have found over time by working with a lot of people and talking to a lot of people. Two main problems that people have with content. Like a lot of people say, well, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to write. Um, and I found that there are two main problems. One is I've called them access and distribution. And the access problem is when all of us, we have expertise, but with all this expertise and then the sheet of paper in front of us or the computer, we can't, we don't seem to be able to find what to say. Well, that's an access problem. How are we going to access in our mind all these nuggets that we can share with people? So my system really helps to access the information with prompts, with questions, with ways of thinking about the content that, or your expertise and your clients, that allows you to get this all out of yourself. And then the second is distribution, which once you've gotten all these ideas out of your head, how a lot of people have come across, they have all this content, but then they don't know how to put it out there and how to structure it. You're talking about, how should, like, you need to learn a little bit about the ways to share your content, and mostly when and how and in what order to put it all out. And so those are the things that I'm going to talk about in the workshop.
Wonderful. Yeah, can't wait. And then also that client journey, how that fits in, right? Like you said. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
the whole thing is delivered through a very fun tool called the content wheel, which just came to me one day, and all of a sudden I was like, this is the way that you can actually fix both of these problems, the access problem and the distribution problem. Of course, you have to feed the wheel with the content, and that's where we'll talk about the customer journey and some other concepts to really come up with the content that will make a difference to your audience and attract them to you.
That's wonderful. I have this visual of spinning the wheel and then,
Oh, yes.
it picks one of the slots.
Yes,
So
so we actually do spin a wheel, so it's really fun.
good. And that's wonderful. Can't wait. Yeah. And what we always do also in the community is really kind of host space for the conversation. And so we always have at least one, if not two breakout rooms, because I find like workshops or they call them master classes are great, but it's the integration and just talking it through what we just learned is so helpful for that integration. So we
Yes.
always build that into the 90-minute workshop. So
And that's perfect because I have exercises. So you build the content for the content wheel. We build it layer by layer. And the most foundational layer is the themes. And I have an exercise. So I also have questions. You answer the questions, that helps you to determine your themes. And then that's perfect for the breakout rooms. Usually I ask people, just tell us your themes, and I just, brainstorm with them and give them feedback. We can do that in the breakout rooms and then come back and yeah, so that would be great.
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we want everybody who's listening or watching to join us in the workshop, but we also know, there's all kinds of other offerings and life and whatnot. So just mention your website as well, because you have wonderful resources there, and maybe people can go there if they can't make it.
Yes, and I'm adding resources all the time. So it's themagnetmodel.com simply. And the magnet model is because my whole entire philosophy of LinkedIn and of marketing is be a magnet to attract your clients and all the things you can do to become a magnet.
Wonderful. Yeah, can't wait. I really look forward to it. Again, the link is humane.marketing/workshop, and this is taking place on June 5th. So do join us. We're a gentle and humane bunch of people and would really love to hang out with you. So thanks, Sophie. Thanks so much for taking the time and doing this together.
My pleasure. I look forward to it.
Yeah, see you soon. Thanks so much for watching and being part of a generation of marketers who cares for yourself, for your clients, and for the planet. We really are change makers before we are marketers. So go ahead, be the change you want to see in the world. And I hope to see you again next week. Take care.